ChemicalMan Podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and today my wife, Krista, is here with us to discuss all things operator related. I thought she'd like to come on and talk about things that has important information, like some days you got to make your vacation a year in advance. Days you have to work holidays, days you have to work weekends. There's times that you think you have a weekend off. Somebody might call off sick, somebody might call off the last minute, you might be forced to work, and then those plans get canceled. And so it's a lot of stuff to do to get done on there. So if you want to come in here, we got some questions to ask, and introduce yourself.
Okay, so I think the biggest thing is, how do we plan vacations, holidays? How do we plan around the life events that happen throughout the year?
So what we try to do is, where I work, we do our vacation by seniority, and we pick it a year in advance. So that's good and bad. If you're the senior man to pick, then you can pick the best days you want. If you're the low man, you get what's left over on there. So what we try to do is, my wife and I try to talk about certain trips we want to take. So say, I like to pick the whole month of December off because I'm a senior. Some people don't like that, but I've been there a long time. I like to get that. And then throughout the year, we'll look at different dates like anniversaries, birthdays, summertime when the kids are out. So we'll look throughout that to try to book a year in advance. There are times that we might want to do a last minute trip. We'll do that too. I know everybody's different on their vacation. Some people like to pick all the hunting seasons. Some people like to pick different birthdays and anniversaries, but with us, you have to pick a year in advance, so you better be thinking pretty hard what days you want. Yes, throughout the year, if you pick some day and you want to move it, you got a couple times to move it on there.
Yeah, so there's benefits to us being able to pick vacations a year ahead of time. The challenge is, though, that once you've made those plans, you're kind of stuck to that because it's harder for you to change your schedule. So once we've decided we're going to take a vacation in the middle of July, we're going to have to kind of take that vacation in the middle of July.
Correct.
Whether a hurricane's coming or something's going to, weather impacts that vacation, we're still taking the vacation. So sometimes there's not a lot of flexibility with the vacations.
Sometimes it's best to go ahead and get the insurance on those vacations too, just in case you have to cancel.
Very true. Very true.
So,
one of the things that I know we do in our family is we look at the calendar, very clearly know when. So you build your schedule into our calendar every
Correct.
year. So every year I can see what holidays you're working, what holidays you're not working. I can see when you're going to possibly have a conflict with work, and I can plan around that ahead of time. The challenge does become when you're working Memorial Day weekend and we want to go do something with the family, with the extended family, and we can't or you can't participate. So then we wind up doing things without you, and we have this whole world that exists where you're part of it, and then we have a world that exists where you're not part of it.
yes, and that's for a lot of families. We like to go to Disney, and there are times that we go to Disney and I see people on their phone doing calls with their significant other, and they're out there working while their family at Disney. It is the way it is. You have to pay the bill somehow. And there have been times that I've worked with people have come out and had Thanksgiving in a parking lot, or you just move the Thanksgiving date to a different time. Some families are real good about that. Some families are like, nope, today's the day. If they don't make it, then fix them a plate. We'll see them later. Luckily, my family's pretty good about moving. There have been times I've got a plate fixed, but other than that, hey, we eat good at work, so I'm okay with that.
So what do you think the challenges are with your schedule and the kids? Kids in school, kids, getting them off to school, seeing them home after school.
So the challenge with that is if you're a double income family and your wife or significant other has to go to work earlier and they can drop the kids off. So it varies. I come home, I work 3 to 3, so I'm home by 3:30 and I'm in bed. So I can at least get 3 hours of sleep before I have to get my kid up for off to school. Some people work 6 to 6, so they're home, they can just stay up, and then once they get the kid off, go to school. The broken sleep gets hard sometimes, but you learn to manage on that. Far as my son plays golf, so if there's a golf tournament coming up and I have to work, I'm going to have to miss it that day. It's like on a weekend or something else, I'll have to miss it, and I'll try to catch the other one the next week on there. There are times, I mean, I've worked with people that have tried to coach Little League games. It's hard. They do the best they can. You know, they might have to sit out one Saturday and let their wife take it, and then come back the next Saturday, and then they'll pick up there. But you do the best you can as far as your kids. I mean, you know, working shift work already, you're losing sleep. But if you have to lose sleep to take care of your kid or take him to the doctor, you got to do what you got to do and just deal with it and try to catch up on sleep on your days off if you don't have a big honey-do list.
Yeah, so in our family, we both work for the same company. I work in a different city than he does. But I go to work about 6 o'clock in the morning. I get to work about 6, so I leave the house about 5:30 or so. And so I don't have the opportunity to take the kiddo to school or get him off to school. Mostly because if I went in later, then that would mean that I would have to come home later. I'm already working 10 to 11-hour days. So if I were working later, I wouldn't get home until 6 or 7 at night, and that's not realistic for our family either. So we have to kind of divide and conquer. So he takes the mornings and I take the afternoons as much as we can. It's not super easy, but we have to do what we have to do for our child.
Yeah, and these are all things you got to take into consideration when you start having a family and you work this type of shift work that we work. You know, you also have to have a spouse that can get used to shift work. I mean, this industry, there's a lot of divorces in this industry, and you know, everybody gets divorced for their own reason, but a lot of times the significant other is mad because their husband or their wife's not home, and you know, I want you to be home. Well, I got to make money. I got to go work. It's what I got to do. You know, provide for the family. So it gets pretty bad. I've seen a lot of divorces in this field, and it helps for where we work. Most of the people around here, they either grew up with their dad working in the industry or they have an uncle. So most of the people kind of know how the schedule is and kind of get used to it. But there's still some that just can't get it, and it becomes at certain times that if you get on a turnaround or a shutdown and you're working 40, 50, 60 days in a row, your significant other becomes a single parent at that point. I mean, they have to do a whole lot more around the house, and if you're working nights, it's a whole lot harder to help out on that than if you're working days. If you're working days, you can come home, you can do at least when you're there every night to see the family. But when you're working nights on a turnaround or shutdown, it's very seldom. You might see them on the weekend, or you might see them on a Friday if they're off or something. But that's about it. So if you like a Monday through Friday kind of job, then I wouldn't look into the industry that we're working in. Especially if you want to be there for every family function on that.
But there are some benefits though, because when you do have non-overtime driven schedules, you get 14 days off throughout the month.
That is
so
true.
We can plan
that is very true.
those spontaneous trips where we go for 3 or 4 days without having to use any vacation. So I can schedule my Friday off to be your Friday off, and we can take the kiddo and run off to Austin or go to different places.
That is true.
There are some benefits.
Especially in the summertime when the kids are out of school. If you have kids, if your wife doesn't work or your significant other doesn't work, that is great. You can be off on your time. You can take up and go and not have to worry about missing anything. That's a beautiful thing right on that aspect of it too. On there. But there's guys that work in this field that their wife stays home and homeschools. Man, every long change, they're gone. They're out doing something, taking the kids on a history lesson somewhere, going somewhere. So there's a good thing. There's pluses and minuses working in the field on there. But she's right on that. It does help out with being off. Plus, when you do get your time off, it is kind of nice being home by yourself for a little while. You can get stuff done around the house. You can go out, meet your buddy for lunch, go play around the golf, and still be home in time before your wife gets home, before your kid gets home, and then you have a whole night to yourself on that.
And you definitely get more time to yourself than the rest of the family.
You do. You do.
So let's go back to the single parenting aspect. So, the challenge is, so for me, I have a husband. I'm very happy with my family. I have my kiddo, and, you know, there are times when he'll be forced on 14 days in a row, all on nights. And I have to be able to accept that for those 14 days, I'm going to be doing it all. I'm going to be doing homework, I'm going to be doing showers, I'm going to be doing, you know, the cooking and the cleaning and the making sure that bedtime gets done the way it's supposed to be. I'm going to be making sure that the laundry is getting done, because the reality is if you're on nights, you're only going to have 1 or 2 hours before you've got to go to work, and it's not enough time to do anything with the family. It's mostly just about taking care of your self-care, because 14 days straight is exhausting.
That is very true. And another thing too is your spouse. If you work at this business and you're young or old, doesn't matter, and you're trying to sleep, your family needs to know that you need to sleep. I've worked with too many people that have gone home, got off at 3:30 in the morning, gone home, got in bed, and their wife has them up by 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, running the streets. We need to go here, we need to go there, we need to do this, we need to do that. And they come right back to work another 12 hours. Man, that takes a toll on your body. You've got to have a good good relationship with your significant other and say, look, I've got to sleep. I need to sleep. I need to go to bed because I have to go do this all over again the next day. I can't be running the streets. I can't be doing that. I work with some that, man, they're down by my area and they live 30 minutes on the other side of the town. Like, what are you doing in my area at this time? We should be sleeping. Oh, wife needed to go do something. Okay. Be a long night.
Yeah, I think we have a pretty good balance on that. I mean, we really make sure that when you're working days that we're wrapped up and done by 7:30, so you can go to bed. And then when you're working nights, we usually try to like do our own thing in the mornings. On the weekends when you get up, we'll try to have lunch together. But then if we're busy doing stuff, we just keep on going with our day. One of the things though is, if you say you want to get up and go to golf or one of the activities that the kiddo has, then we will make an effort to get you to participate. But we try to schedule those things later on in the morning or in the early afternoon so you can participate. Yeah. But the waking up at 7:30 in the morning, I mean, the fatigue risk for operators is pretty high. When you talk about lack of sleep and you talk about having to go in and work around machinery and valves and opening things up, and the safety risk that comes with fatigue is just not worth it to me. I want to know that when I send my husband to work, he's coming home the way he went to work. And not letting him sleep doesn't guarantee that safety risk.
That's exactly right. Everybody needs to sleep. Especially if you have sleep apnea like I do, you need to sleep. You need to get well rested before you go out and do stuff on there. So, is there anything else you have any other questions about, or you want to bring up?
No, I think the biggest thing is, marriage is a partnership, right? And so working this kind of schedule requires a lot of compromise. It does require the person who is not working the schedule to be understanding of the fact that this is not the traditional 9-to-5 job. So having somebody home every single night is not going to happen. And be okay with doing things without your significant other who's working the shift work. It took me a while to get okay with like going out and doing things with just my kid or with my family without him home. Because I always thought, well, I can't do fun things if he's not around, because that's not fair to him because he's missing out. But then I realized that we were all missing out because he was working. And so we had to just learn to be okay with that and accept it.
Yeah, that's very true. And I can tell you right now, there's been times that you think you're getting off and you have something planned. Next thing you know, your relief calls off and you're trying to scrounge around to try to find someone to come relieve you so you can leave. And you end up working 16 hours or even 18 hours. Next thing you know, well, that's a dinner you missed. That's something else you missed. And it's not like you can just pick up and leave the unit unattended. You could lose your job pretty quick on that one. So times like that happen. There's been times that I've had something planned, had to work an 18-hour, and next thing you know, I just missed it all. I'm like, well, I just catch it next time, on there. So just remember, if you get married or you have a wife or husband at home that, works in this field, just, go easy on them, hopefully they share and hopefully they help out. And you kind of gotta compromise. You gotta work what you can, because on your days off, that's when you spend the most time together, and that's when you have fun on there. And I just wanted to come on and talk a little bit. I hope that you feel like you got some questions out there and for people to talk about. Hey, y'all comment below and let us know what you think and how you deal with your significant other, or how you deal with your family. I'd love to hear from everybody. Anyway, like I said, comment below, like, subscribe. The Chemical Man Podcast Uncensored page is still there too. If anybody wants to go take a look and comment. Anyway, well, y'all be safe out there and have good. Until the next time, peace out.